Hello everyone, I'm Andy Kaladi. For those that don't know, I'm the Academy Counsellor, basically the main person students speak to if they're having difficulties with their mental health. Now I wanted to use this virtual assembly to talk to you about stress. I want you to know what stress is, I want you to know how to deal with it, and I also want you to know the difference between the kind of stress that is a part of everyday life that everyone goes through, and the type of stress that leads to mental health difficulties, because there is an important distinction between the two that I'm going to tell you about. Now, stress, by way of definition, is just your body's and particularly your mind's response to situations that are threatening, that are challenging, that maybe feel uncomfortable, maybe even unsafe. And it can be anything, major or minor. So stress can be worrying about upcoming exams, it can be grieving the death of a loved one, or it could be something relatively minor like, you get angry at one of your mates because he keeps on flirting with a with a girl you like, making you jealous. These are all types of stress that you have to deal with, and oftentimes stress is talked about in a negative way, but there's actually really positive aspects of stress. And these positive aspects of stress, psychologists call eustress. EU is like a Greek prefix meaning good stress, eustress. And this is the type of stress that keeps us motivated and focused on a task that we would rather not do, but will lead to good results if we stick to it. So an obvious example of this is revising for your exams. Who the hell wants to do that? It's probably the most exhilarating thing to do. But eustress puts you under pressure, makes you focused and makes you determined to see it through, because it'll lead to good things in your life. The next type of stress I want to talk to you about is something called tolerable stress. This stress doesn't really lead to anything good. It can be very difficult to deal with. It can be very painful as well. But it doesn't have to lead to a mental health problem for as long as you're able to maintain positive contact with your friends, your family, you're able to feel good about yourself and optimistic about your future. So an example of tolerable stress would be something serious like losing a family member, losing a loved one, suffering a bereavement. Like I said, this can be really difficult, it can floor somebody, but it doesn't have to lead to a mental health problem for as long as you're able to maintain positive feelings about yourself, you're able to maintain good relationships with those around you, and you're able to say to yourself, this may be terrible now, I may be going through a lot now, but I know in time I'll heal and I'll get over it. And that's why it's called tolerable stress, because you can get through it even though it's difficult. The next type of stress is that I want to talk to you about anyway. Is called toxic stress, which is sometimes called distress, and this is not tolerable, and it's certainly not positive either. This type of stress is it's prolonged, meaning it lasts for an extended period of time. It is severe, meaning you feel it all the time, and it really affects your mood cycles. It gets in the way of you carrying out your responsibilities, like attending school, concentrating in class, being nice to your friends, maintaining good personal hygiene. And lastly, it also completely evaporates your ability to cope. So things that you normally do to distract yourself from your troubles, like listening to music, talking, walking about, the park, whatever, they just don't work anymore. You're feeling bad all the time. And when you experience a type of stress where you're hitting those four areas, you've got a mental health problem on your hands. And that is because this type of stress, like a poison, it enters your body and your mind and starts to change the way you think and feel about not only yourself, but also about other people, about the world, about your future. So when I first became a counsellor, I used to work in the NHS with adults, and about 60% of the people that I worked with were there because they were heartbroken. Somebody in their life left them, maybe gone through a difficult divorce, their girlfriends or boyfriends just didn't want to be with them anymore. And this is a really obviously crushing thing to go through, being heartbroken. It rips you in two. But the thing that made that type of stress, toxic stress, was not only was it heartbreaking, but it also started to change the way they think and feel about themselves. So they would often say, you know, this person left me after so many years, and I'm heartbroken, and I think they left me because I'm just not good enough. I'm boring, I'm not attractive, I'm a worthless piece of whatever. It really did start to kind of change the way they viewed themselves in a deep-seated and long-lasting way. And that's what made it toxic. That's what makes it different from tolerable stress, because tolerable stress, you know, you can deal with it because it's not changing how you feel about yourself, but when it becomes toxic, it's a difficult situation to go through, and it makes you feel differently about yourself. So there's 3 different types of stress there, and obviously, because they're different, they require different ways of handling them. So eustress, positive stress, how to deal with that, you just embrace it, because it leads to positive changes in your life, and it'll improve your life circumstances as well. Tolerable stress is obviously different because it is harder to deal with, but kind of self-care management will be more than sufficient in dealing with that. So being social, being active, getting on top of your diet and your exercise regimen, you know, all these things lift mood. And also just doing things that make you feel good about yourself, like, you know, helping other people, doing well in your schoolwork, going to the mosque, you know, whatever it is, just schedule it in and make sure you stick to it. And in time, you'll be able to kind of overcome tolerable stress. Toxic stress is obviously something different. Self-care management can only go so far in kind of, you know, attacking the roots of toxic stress. You can, you know, light as many candles as you want and run as many bubble baths as you want. You may come out smelling like lavender, but you'll still feel rotten inside. And that's because this toxic stress has changed the way you think and feel about yourselves in a really bad way. And if you experience that, that's when you really need to kind of reach out to professionals who have a background in mental health training. So this could be your teachers, could be pastoral leads. A lot of them have training in mental health first aid. But if your difficulties are too severe and they are swamping every aspect of your life, you should speak to a mental health professional like myself, who will support you in ways such as counselling, you know, providing an open space for you to kind of explore who you are and what you've been through, and make you kind of look at that self-hatred a bit more critically and kindly. But there's also other ways in which you can be supported by different healthcare professionals. So yes, I never know how to end these things, but I hope you learned something about stress, about what it is and how to deal with it. And I don't know if you have any questions. I'm sure your teachers will answer those, and if they can't, I'll be about to answer them. So yeah, thank you very much. Hope you have a good day.